This is what burgers look like when you see them at a butcher shop. This is what they look like when they're cooked. And this is how they start. Today I'm going to show you how I make 4 of the most popular burgers in my shop. At our butcher shop, we receive 1 steer a week. You're getting meat that's hand trimmed and picked out by a butcher. By making these burgers myself, I'm able to control the flavor, the fat content, and the texture. The first burger is the most popular burger in my shop, the short rib burger. The short rib section of the steer is located right here. The front end and the hind end of the steer work more. So generally the mid section of the steer is something that is more tender. To give you an idea, the short ribs is something that would rest kind of right here, and that doesn't really get much exercise as would my arms or my legs. So here we have a short rib plate. If this was the steer's rib cage, the sternum would be right here. So there would be 2 short ribs, and directly behind me, if I was a steer, would be your ribeye. Short ribs are a cut of meat that is often used for braising in the wintertime, and there are an excess amount of short ribs in my shop in the summertime. The short rib plate is great for burgers because it just has a lot of that fat marbled in the meat. It's somewhere around 80-20, and when you see a label that says 80-20, 80 is referring to the actual meat, and the 20% is referring to the fat. And fat does equal flavor, and it just makes for a really juicy burger. Now we're going to debone the short rib plate and trim out the fat. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my meat hook and I'm just going to run it along the back of this short rib plate and just loosen up the sinew. Here we go. This is a boning knife, and with the boning knife I'm just going to go around all of the rib bones and just try to get as closely to the bone, trying to keep, waste to a minimum. I'm using the tip of the knife and I'm just like gliding it, just keeping as close as possible to the rib bone. So here we have a deboned rib plate. So now I'm going to trim the fat, and I tend to use a longer knife, a scimitar. I'm just looking at the corners. I basically try to find myself something to hold on to, looking to see where the meat is, just trying to trim off all of the fat. There's a lot of fat on this. This fat that's on the outside I'm trimming out, it's a little bit like gummier. Our goal is to remove this fat and try to get as closely as possible to the 20% mark before we grind this meat. So I'm just cutting this in half just because it's easier for me to control my longer strokes. So I'm just trimming this all out, trimming. All right. And then over here, there's a little bit of like a shimmer, like a little bit of a silver skin here. Silver skin is something that you find within the muscles of the meat around the bones. Have you ever eaten a spare rib or something, and when you chew it, there's like a piece of film that's like the last piece that you bite off of a bone? That's silver skin. And as you can see, there's a lot of fat still on here. And I'm cutting this into like strips that I can manage better now. Short rib burgers and brisket burgers are more expensive. There's a lot of trim I'm losing. There's a lot of fat that I'm losing bone weight, and this all has to make up for all of my loss. There you go. Eyeballing this, I can tell that this is the ratio that we're looking for to make the perfect short rib burger. Before we start grinding, I need to set up the grinder. Here we have the cylinder. Oh yes. We're gonna place the meat through here, and the auger basically turns and gets it ready to hit the knife. The blade faces out. So we're using the 1/4-inch hole. I generally grind all my burgers twice on a 1/4. The reason why I like to grind my meat twice is because of the texture. The first time it's just a little, maybe too meaty for me, too coarse, but the second grind is a little bit more smoother, the texture, a little bit more silky. So here we have the short rib grind. We've ground it once. It's not really well blended. These white pieces are the fat, and if we were to patty this up right now, you would taste pieces of fat. It would be very coarse. It wouldn't be as tender as it could be, right? So if we grind it a second time, it's still gonna be meaty, but it's going to have a smoother texture. So this is meat ground once, and this is meat ground twice. This meat now will stick and bind together more so than this just ground once. The double grind is going to keep its form. We are going to basically start taking balls of meat and weighing them out to the weight that I like my burgers to weigh at. Some butcher shops make 1/3 pound burgers. Some butcher shops make 1/2 pound burgers. I think there's a really sweet spot in between is 6 ounces. Oh, 1/4 pounder. When I was a kid, I thought a 1/4 pounder was so much meat. That was like the burger I chose from like our favorite fast food joint. And quite honestly, leaves me wanting some more. I really wouldn't do less than 1/3 pound. Here we have a burger press, which I'm very familiar with. There's nothing wrong with patting up burgers with your hands, but the great thing about a burger press is the consistency. It'll just all grill up nice and evenly. And then I just push down once, and there we have, voila, one burger. Right, so here you'll see that the fat and the beef is distributed quite nicely. So with every bite, it's gonna be a little bit of meat, a lot of flavor. The fat really does equal a lot of flavor. It's gonna retain its juiciness. Ooh, this one smells so good. So this burger was pan seared on a hot skillet. Texture looks really good. Looks not too fine, not too coarse. I'm gonna take another bite just to, you know, give you my real, authentic. That was delicious. Full of flavor, really juicy, and just great texture. Just the way I like my burger. The short rib burger would be perfect for anybody at any time. A sirloin burger is a great choice for someone who's looking for something that's leaner. Here's your sirloin section. Here is the round. I'll be making sirloin burgers out of the sirloin tip, which is found just slightly between the sirloin area and the round area. The sirloin tip is actually also known as the knuckle. Generally, the cuts towards the hind end of the steer are much leaner than the cuts that you find on the front end of the steer. The sirloin tip is a muscle that is not your most tender. It's not the toughest cut of meat. It has a little bit of fat, not too much fat. We've got much more muscle matter and very little fat cap, where the short rib, as you remember, had a lot of fat. Now we're looking at somewhere along the lines of like a 90-10. It's very possible that a sirloin burger will have the right amount of fat for a pan sear. When you're grilling a burger, you lose a lot of fat. A lot of the juices seep out of the burger. But for a sirloin burger, if you're doing something stovetop, it will actually be less smoky than a short rib burger, which has much more fat. Well, before we make the burger today, we are going to remove the fat on the outside and remove all of the sinew or silver skin that we find, and just try to stay as close as we can to the silver skin. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to seam out the muscle. I'm going to remove the whole animal trim. I'm going to remove the sirloin tip cap. Here you have the sirloin tip, the tip cap, and over here we have meat that we're going to use as whole animal trim. Whole animal trim just basically means we're taking muscles. Those muscles, we're beautifying them, putting them into the retail case. All of the extra side muscles that don't necessarily make a great steak, that is what we mean when we say whole animal trim. So now I am separating the sirloin tip cap and the sirloin tip. Okay. Sirloin tip, tip cap, whole animal trim. So I'm gonna trim this as though we're gonna put the sirloin tip in our case. I'm beautifying this, right? So I just want it to look perfect. Let's say I'm gonna make this into skewers or whatnot. I'm just like trimming off the ends, face cutting it. And when we mean face cuts, it just basically means straightening up the sides. So it's all even. This is now part of my whole animal trim. So here we have the sirloin tip cap. So then here we have again the sirloin tip. You will see in a butcher shop as a roast, or you can see these as medallions. Want to make this look pretty? I'm gonna cut this off. This is a traditional sirloin tip medallion. So here we have enough sirloin to make a bunch of burgers, and I'm choosing to keep this sirloin tip and the rest of this sirloin tip roast as steaks for the case. We are going to grind this on the 1/4 inch grind again. We're gonna do it twice as we did the short rib. That's really something I enjoy. Okay, here we have the sirloin. Do you see how different that looks from the first short rib grind that we had? Hardly any fat, much more red, less white. So I'm going to grind this now a second time through the 1/4 inch plate, but I'm also gonna save a little bit and put it to the side, and we're gonna put it through a smaller plate, and we're gonna compare the difference in textures. Here I have a little bit of meat left in the grinder, and I'm going to show you what it looks like grinding it through the 3/16 inch grind. So here we have the second time on 3/16, and this is much more of a finer grind. Just it sticks together more so than the coarse grind does. If we grind it too fine, we're going into like a hot dog, bologna type of emulsified texture, kielbasa, but it just depends on what you're looking for in your burger. All right, so now I'm just gonna weigh these out and shape them into patties. This definitely has more of a red color to it. Looks leaner than the short rib burger. Great burger for a New York City apartment with no exhaust fan. God, it's so beautiful, I don't want to mess it up. So here we have our sirloin burger. This is not a burger I recommend cooking past medium rare. It doesn't have as much fat as our short rib burger does. It's actually really delicious. It's definitely still really moist, great texture. I would be really pleased if I was served this burger, actually. This is where you find the ribeye section of the steer. The ribeye section is just above the short rib plate. The top part of the steer doesn't get much exercise, so the ribeye section tends to be much more tender than other parts of the steer. Here we have a dry age rib section of a ribeye. If I was a steer, again, this would be my rib section, and it just cuts off right before kind of my like mid back, and then the continuation of this would be your New York strips or your strip steaks, which would be your lower back. Basically, dry aging meat breaks down the proteins in the muscle, therefore we're losing moisture, flavor is concentrating, and the breaking down of the proteins makes for more tender meat. When you cut the meat, it has this distinctive smell. It almost smells like your like dry prosciutto or Serrano ham, but with beef. Here we have a bone saw. This can saw through bone. I'm gonna cut a face cut off of this rib loin so you can see more clearly what we're talking about. This isn't something I would normally saw through. I think I'm almost there. This is when we get tipped at work. Oh my goodness. All right, let's just like take 5. So I just wanted to make sure I heard all the bones crack before I bring the scimitar into play. Oh. Ta-da! So here we go. It smells so good. All right, so here we have the ribeye, as you know it. Here is the muscle known as the lifter that we're going to use for our dry aged burgers. We're not using the ribeye muscle itself. So here we go. I'm removing the lifter muscle, which doesn't necessarily travel all the way to the end of the ribeye. Okay, I gotta go back this way, okay? We removed the lifter, also known as the rib cap. We are going to trim off all the fat, remove all of the sinew. We don't want this in the burger. Now I'm just gonna remove all this fat. I'm going to just cut it into strips like this. I'm gonna take all this, I'm gonna grind this twice to the 1/4 inch grinder plate and start patting up some burgers. Just mixing it up before I put it through the second grind. I'm going to make some burgers out of here. So here we go. Here we have our dry aged rib cap burger. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, I just lost a piece of meat, sorry. This is something that I really wouldn't mess around too much with. I wouldn't maybe go crazy with the toppings. You just want to focus on tasting the meat. Wow, that's delicious. You can taste the aging on this, actually. It's just, it's a very special burger. Okay, I'm just gonna continue eating it, actually. The next burger we're going to make is our bacon burger. Our bacon burgers are made with whole animal trim. We're using the leftover pieces from the whole animal. We like to beautify these cuts of meat before we put them into the case, and those pieces is what we're accumulating, and that's what we save to blend with the bacon to make a bacon burger. The bacon burger that I make incorporates ground bacon into the ground beef, and we mix that all together. So it's not a burger with bacon on top. It's actually a burger with ground beef and ground bacon all ground up together. The meat of the burger just tastes like smoky goodness. In this burger, the meat is going to be 80% lean meat, and the fat that we're going to be incorporating into the burger is from the bacon. This is pork bacon. This is belly that has been cured and smoked, hot smoked. If it's hot smoked, you can enjoy your burger medium rare because the bacon is actually already fully cooked. What I'm going to do is slice this bacon, cut it up, and then we're gonna mix it up with the lean beef. This is all we need. We really don't need more than this. So before I grind, I like to cut it into strips. And then with the bacon, I like to just like cube it up into smaller pieces. I want to make sure that it's evenly distributed throughout the whole blend. So this is all going to go together into the grinder. Our bacon and our whole animal lean trim. I'm gonna put this to the second grinder just so that it becomes one homogeneous grind. This is a really well blended bacon beef burger. It's just like smoky bacon with every bite of your burger. This is a great burger, probably to make on a skillet more so than a grill. You can grill these burgers, but you know, you have to be careful of all the flare-ups. So I tend to like making like fatty burgers more stovetop, but this already has a smoky flavor that you may be looking for when grilling burgers. Looks really juicy. Again, it's been pan-seared, medium rare. We've got 8% lean beef and 20% bacon. And all of that beef has been just cooking in that delicious rendered fat, which is just the bacon fat that's melting away in the skillet. Oh my God. Oh, it's like perfect. There's bacon flavor spread throughout this whole burger patty. This surpasses a burger with bacon slices. You know how they just put those little crisscrossy bacon on top and they consider it a bacon burger? If you're someone that likes bacon, this is definitely something you need to experience. The next time you're in a butcher shop, stop in and grab yourself a burger. You'll know where the meat is coming from. It'll have better texture and definitely better flavor. For the next show, can we just like afford a bandsaw? No, I'm just kidding.